So, this Chrysler 300 Dodge Charger or Magnum vehicle suddenly made a loud pop sound while I was turning left. Not like a pop tire sound, but just a weird boom sound. And of course, the car stopped suddenly and would no longer move. I had to have the car towed, and I remember the tow truck driver saying, as he was towing the car onto the flatbed truck, that it's weird. The car is in park, not in neutral, but moves with relative ease. Usually, it's hard to push a car when in park, which is why you put it in neutral to push it with ease. Anyway, I started wondering what it could be, and I would later figure it out, but I decided to make this video and go through all the steps, so if you ever get into a similar problem, then you'll be able to quickly isolate the issue of your vehicle not moving. When I first heard the odd sound, I thought maybe the transmission went bad, so I looked at my dash to see if there were any troubleshooting codes, and I couldn't see any. So I first put in my OBD scan tool, which, by the way, you should always have one in the car with you for emergencies like this. They make many cheap ones nowadays. I'll put some in the description below. Anyway, I plugged my code reader in and didn't get any codes, which surprised me. So I thought that was strange. So next, I tried shifting from drive to reverse, and although I could shift smoothly, the car still did not move forward or backward. It did make a weird sound near the wheels, however. Also, for some odd reason, I don't see the other gears when shifting to like low or the other gear numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Regardless, I realized one solution, that the shifting mechanism was fine and not the problem, as I could actually shift into different gears. If you cannot physically move the shifter, then the problem lies in the shifting interlock latch inside the shifter. It kind of looks like a little pink piece in this case. However, I knew this would not cause the car to just suddenly die. So moving on to the next possible problem, I thought maybe the transmission oil was low. I checked the transmission oil level and it was full and at the right level. In fact, I have a bunch of separate detailed videos that show how to check the transmission oil level, as well as how to do a transmission flush, and actually a lot of really helpful videos on the transmission. Those will all be in the description below as well. Next, I turned the car on again and left my door open, and I noticed when I switched from park to drive, or from reverse to drive, or reverse to park, the car made a weird grinding noise, but it specifically sounded worse coming from the rear driver's side. So next I figured maybe there is something wrong with the suspension. So I put the e-brake on and checked the wheels for safety. Anyway, I looked under the car and saw some drops on the ground, but nothing that stuck out. So I turned the car back on and put it in drive and later reverse, and again, with the e-brake on and the wheels chucked, I went underneath the vehicle and noticed the left rear driver's side axle keeps spinning. However, the right rear axle is not spinning, which you can't see on camera. You can see, however, the CV boot near the transmission is still connected and spinning, and in front, the drive shaft is spinning. You might be confused as to why the drive shaft, which transfers torque from the transmission to all the axles and wheels, would only transfer all that power to the broken axle and nowhere else. The simple reason is because the differential is looking to send the energy or power with the least amount of resistance, and in this case, that would be to the broken CV axle. This is why the other wheels do not spin.
Okay, put it in park.
That was a weird sound. So, I got up from under the car and put the car back in park and turned the car off. Next, I closely looked at the rear driver's side CV axle area, and it was clear that the boot was cut or separated. I could see grease, and you could tell some of it got flung around, and those drops on the ground was not water, but grease on the ground. Look at that. Well, at least I narrowed down my problem. The next question became, can I temporarily repair it with a patch using a rubber coating spray, duct tape, and zip ties, or do I just need to add a separate rubber CV boot to it, or does the entire CV axle just need to be completely replaced? In order to figure that out, I next jacked up the car and took the wheel off to get another view. and I noticed the boot separated near the backside of the rotor. But I looked closer inside and saw a loose gear that fell out. Here's how the gear looks. Clearly, this snapped off. More on this later. Anyway, so when I grabbed the CV axle and tried to turn it, it makes a loud clunking clanking sound, just like when the vehicle was on and in drive or reverse. The axle was moving, but it was not physically attached to the rest of the axle, which means the wheel won't rotate and drive power to all the other wheels. So I finally figured out the problem and that the CV axle broke off and separated, and the axle kept turning and split open the rubber boot, which was making the weird clanking sound and ultimately why the car suddenly died without any warning codes whatsoever. Therefore, the entire rear driver's side CV axle needs to be replaced. This is how the broken CV axle looks, completely removed from the vehicle. I go into more depth on this broken CV axle in a different video, which is actually quite interesting. That video is in the description. But pretty much, I found inside the greasy rubber boot a piece of a clip that broke off. Without that clip, a lot of stress was placed on the splines of the axle shaft, consequently causing that spindle gear to snap off and separate from the rest of this axle. This broken axle kept rotating and split open the rubber boot, making the vehicle completely detachable and inoperable. Wow, just a crazy and very dangerous mess. So hopefully this video helps make you aware of some of the complications that can go wrong with your vehicle suddenly not working and having suspension problems, like these CV axles, as well as to help you in determining your specific problem when no troubleshooting codes exist. Please mention your thoughts about this in the comments, or if you too have had similar experiences or troubles that could help or alert others. I'll put the other videos mentioned earlier in the description to watch right now. Until next time, please subscribe and hit the like button and check out the many great videos on this channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day or night.